Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with what is always one of my favorite interviews to have.
This is a super treat, dude.
Yeah, we have a legend of the industry, Don Carson, and in my opinion, judging by what I know of him being behind the animations, I think we have an upcoming legend of the industry as well, too. We're joined with two of the coconuts today from Mighty Coconut, working on Walkabout Mini Golf to talk about their newest course. And correct me if I'm not pronouncing right or anything, but Tiki A Coco, love the name. But today we're joined with Don Carson, Senior Art Director over at Mighty Coconut, as well as Nate Terhune. He's a tech artist over at Mighty Coconut, which I always love to dive more into, like what these actual job titles are, like what goes behind
what really happens
with a tech artist. Yeah. People that work in the industry, it's just another, it's a title they all know, but a lot of our listeners, they like that stuff, but they don't exactly know what each role does. So before we get into that, though, do you two mind to do a quick little intro of who you are, much better than I can do, and tell the listeners a little bit more about your role at Mighty Coconut?
You bet. Sure, yeah. If you don't mind me going first, I really don't want to follow you, Don. As you said, Don is a legend. Honestly, first and foremost, you helped me out immensely when I got to this job, so thank you first and foremost for that. But my name is Nate Terhune. I am a tech artist at I'm a tech artist at Walkabout. I haven't done one of these since I worked at a previous job, so excuse me. I currently focus on animation and rigging. That's the technical side of the tech art that I do, is the rigging and skinning of all the characters, or most of the characters these days. Tech art is just kind of a mystery to me as it is to everybody else. It kind of encompasses everything and means a little bit different, a thing at any studio that you might go to. But for me, it is definitely the rigging and animation side of things. And so, the animations you've been seeing, and a lot of them are more recent courses, I've had a heavy hand in, and that's what I do.
Cool. And I'm Don Carson, Senior Art Director at Mighty Coconut. I've been there about over 4 years now, and it's probably my favorite job I've ever had. Let's see, my background is illustration major that went into theme park design and Imagineering in the late 80s and early 90s. And I consider that kind of my university training. And then I've just basically been playing forward all that learning into the projects I've worked on since. And Mighty Coconut is sort of the culmination of all those lessons in placemaking and storytelling, and I think most importantly, building places for people to be together in.
If I remember the last time, because Don has been on once before, that you had spoken about enjoying the freedom of being able to design something without the limitations that you have, because being an Imagineer is some pretty serious, pretty epic in my opinion, but to have that freedom in virtual reality to put these creative ideas without those, we'll say real world limitations.
Yeah.
It's just,
there's lots of them.
As an artist, which I'm not, I can't imagine like how liberating that really is,
Yep, you nailed it. That's true.
And it sounds like your two roles work hand in hand. Do you mind to talk a little bit about what goes into the design process with you designing what things are going to look like, and Nate bringing them to life?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start. I'm on the front end, often a year and a half before most people get onto it and work on it. And the job of the sort of art directors, there's a team called the design team, which is Laura, Henning, Lucas, and I, and we're the same. We're sort of the four-headed beast, where we come up with the raw first beginning structure of a course, from the idea to just what the bones are. And then it goes into the capable hands of everybody else, the art team and the tech art team, who take it to finish. And I guarantee that the first day we start working on it, we have no idea how incredibly beautiful and polished it's going to be. But we have the confidence that all the people that get to touch it in that process are going to make it infinitely better than we had imagined it could have been those first weeks we're working on it.
That's awesome.
I love seeing when you'll see sketches of when they're posted. I've seen Don on his on one of your socials. I've seen you post a lot of the sketch work prior. Is that done with pen and paper, or are you doing that digitally?
That's completely pen and paper. One of the other wonderful benefits of working at Mighty Coconut is that my career is pretty much under non-disclosure agreements, so that I've worked on so many more things that I can't share. And one of the things that Lucas said at the beginning was he was completely cool with my sharing the process after we launch a course. So I take full advantage to the point of I show everything. But the drawing part is, it's just my own process, is that before building it in 3D, I like to draw it. And a lot of the building thinking happens in the drawing. So I overproduce when it comes to producing artwork. And it's purely for selfish reasons, because it's just so much fun to imagine these places in a drawing before we start making them into a place.
I just love seeing that little piece of that process that, is like, I'm assuming people having ideas and concepts, and it's like, just to be able to hear that and be like, oh, I can see it. Let me just simply do this. We'll say this is the first thing. It's awesome to see. I encourage people to actually like follow your socials, because there's some really good stuff if you're into art and seeing that process and learning that side of like, wow, it's done. That's why I had to ask the pen and paper or pencil and paper, because I know a lot of artists still want that, just rooted way of sketching, not having to do it on purely a digital format, even though what you're creating is going into a digital format.
Yeah, and it's also pretty incredible to see it go from that to what we experience in VR.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
it's quite the journey there.
Yeah. Well, Zach Alexander, our graphics art director, I think works mostly digitally, and I think it's what you reach for, whatever tool speaks to you and does the best job of communicating the pictures that are inside your head. And I'm just an old dude, so pen and paper is my go-to, but it doesn't make it any more or less valuable to the production process.
Love that. And I really feel like 2025 was let's be real. We've always loved the courses from Walkabout Mini Golf.
It'd be crazy to think they've never gotten better, though.
Well, they completely leveled up in 2025.
There's been a transition from day one to, even though I'll still say their first course, it still holds up. It's a good course.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I remember when Tokyo came out, we were like, oh my goodness, this is the most colorful and the most packed course. And then every course since then has just been Forgotten Fairyland, unbelievably packed, unbelievably colorful. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Meow Wolf was that was the first real eye opener with like seeing that array of colors. But I agree, Tokyo was the one I think I'm like, I think they used like every crayon possible in one of those big crayon boxes. I was running out of like, how many colors are really in this?
But since then, it's felt like every course has been almost equally as packed and colorful. And I noticed on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, it was the first course I really felt like you all leveled up with the animations on the characters inside the course.
100%.
Fast forward to Tiki A Coco, and these coconuts are so full of life. It almost feels like that they have a personality on each one. I'm guessing that, Nate, that's where you came in with all the rigging and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, Alice was definitely kind of like a level up. I think you guys nailed it with that. Kind of going back to the pre-production side of things, like, we had like a really good foundation for that course. Not that we haven't in others, but this one, like Don, you put out this incredible design doc and like intent doc, and it had like animation suggestions, but also left it open to a lot of interpretation. We had a lot of reference material to draw from, as you can imagine, with Alice in Wonderland, but obviously sticking closer to the origins of it, not wanting to go more the Disney route, which is kind of easy to do with animation, because let's face it, they've been spearheading, animation for a long time now, but like really keeping character like interactions and like how they act and acting choices to the the origin. So that was also one of the first times that I had to rig that many characters. So there were some limitations there that were good, because early on we decided kind of what was expected of each character, what the limiting factors were, and that allowed me to focus on like, okay, this person needs to have like legs that actually move and animate. This person could be stuck in the ground kind of and just like move their upper body. And it was a lot of like kind of creative problem solving on a very technical aspect of what I do. And it was really fun to kind of marry all of that together in a way to bring these characters to life so that the level felt like full.
Well, it was definitely 100%. Allison, that's my new favorite course. I've never had a favorite, but right now that still holds as my favorite. But one of the things I enjoyed was you didn't take a cookie cutter approach to Alice in Wonderland. And we had hoped, like, I have a feeling this is going to be Walkabout's interpretation of Alice in Wonderland. So y'all nailed it with it.
And it just increases the amount of time, at least for me, that we're hanging out in the course. Because how long did we sit there with the hookah smoking caterpillar, seeing the puffs? I mean, he was ripping that hookah, leaning back with it.
Bubbles. It was bubbles.
Yeah.
But bubbles. Sorry, not hookah. But it makes the course feel so much more alive. But I think you kind of hinted at this, Nate, and it was something I was wondering, when you're handing over these design docs, you have these animations in mind already, Don? And is this something that you've wanted to see in the courses for a while, or is it a little bit of a newer thing?
I think Labyrinth was the first one where we brought characters in that adding character animation is a huge lift. So the expense on the team to include lots of character animations is something that's actually relatively new. And really the theme dictates how many characters are going to be in it. And so we have to like space out the courses that have lots of animation. We've kind of failed to do that between Alice and Tiki, but
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Bring it up. Well, and also we'll do things like in the example of Tiki is we went, okay, it has to be full of these coconut characters, but we're completely okay with them all having the same idol. Like they're all just going to be standing around and they'll now be cool. And then Nate comes in and then he imbues every single one of these characters with like a brain and like a backstory and an emotional state that I just love walking around and just observing them, and my face hurts smiling. In many ways, I think that actually Tiki A Coco is the closest thing to a dark ride that we've done. It's kind of like It's a Small World. All of the characters are doing their thing. You know what they're doing. You know that they're celebrating. And then early on in the concept phase, I was a real proponent for the course going really dark. Like you didn't know what their motivation was. Like they're sharpening knives and stuff. Like, what are these friendly guys doing? And we still have the sacrifice your ball to the mighty coconut at the end, which is yay. But Nate brought just such a marvelous level of personality to it that I think is what makes it my favorite to date. Tiki has those incredibly endearing, innocent, maybe slightly sinister coconut characters throughout.
I even love in one of the huts they're doing the traditional tattooing.
I swear to God, I was about to bring that up too.
Dude, I lost it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is absolutely like on point. But you're right. Each one has and it does bring a vibe and a personality. I do have a question though, because it's like the one thing. Will there be a future where these animations can track player? Like, because you want
to see the eyes following, is what you keep bringing up.
It's what I want. So I almost like position myself in front of one to be like, oh, he's looking at me. It's like if you had a bad shot, the expression could change versus if you got a hole in one, they could be more of a celebratory face. Is that a future possibility that could happen, or is that out of limitation?
Without saying too much, it's been talked about. There is a bit of a lift that has to happen on the back end, but I will just say it has been discussed.
All right. In my brain, I hear someone from Coconut say it's been talked about. It's like, all right, they've already done it.
Well, we always joke
Not
about
saying we're going to get it, but it obviously.
who knows what's in the planning at
Well,
that
you
studio.
just heard these sketches. Don's a year to a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. I would pay money to see the whiteboard of the roadmap internally of what's going on there. I can only imagine the IPs you're all working on.
A year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That my brain can't even conceive.
And unfortunately for you two, I'm sorry to say this, but as a consumer, I mean, the animations and the characters are so good. I almost feel like it's a standard now. Of
You almost mentioned it. I think you said that last night.
It's like it's becoming part of what I look forward to for the courses now after these last two.
But characters in animation have to have a place in.
Correct. You can't force them in. And
Yeah.
They might not make the more sense on like if you like Mars Garden, that wouldn't make sense to have a bunch of, although you could have astronauts floating around. And
it's a good level up though.
Oh my goodness. It makes it adds so much life and vibrance to these. So a little bit of a left turn question, but when working in like this artistic side of designing the course, working on the animations, since you did one that was an IP, I mean, public domain, but it's still within that IP, and one that's, your own original creation. Which is there one that's more fun for you or more difficult? What's it like working on an IP versus, your own creation?
Well, the IP demands a longer production cycle because it has to go through approval processes. Luckily, Alice was public domain, so we didn't have to go knock on Lewis Carroll's door to find out whether we were interpreting it well. I think probably one of my absolute favorite collaborations was Meow Wolf, getting to work with Katie Kennedy. But it was a tough project because we wanted to get it right. And we were also working around Katie's very, very busy schedule. So for us, the stuff that we own, that we can come up with is easier because there's no one telling us, or we're not looking for permission for the choices we're making.
I will say, working on an IP versus not, when we worked with Aardman on the Wallace and Gromit course, that was a lot of fun. There was a review process, obviously, that we had to go through them. I will say, for me, it was a little bit easier to crank out. I did most of the sheep animation, full disclosure. I didn't really work on the main characters, but all the sheep and hard, I loved working on them. But because there were so many, and because there was already like this idea of like how the sheep were supposed to act and like kind of limitations placed on us, it was easy to get through that many characters. While I love to do our own thing where we have no limitations, when there's a lot of characters on screen and we're just kind of in our own our own pot, our own bag, just pulling out ideas, it does get a little bit harder to hit everything or try to get everything in when there's like a lot of characters on screen.
But you didn't prove that with Tiki by putting animation on 1,000 coconuts,
I think I might have shot myself in the foot with that one.
That one's going to come back and haunt you anytime somebody's like, well, we need more. I can't do more. It's like
I said, these last two courses back to back, they feel like an absolute level up. And interestingly enough, I feel like having this much vibrance and this many notable landscapes, because there's so many more items in the course these days, it feels like. And like the personality of each coconuts in some ways almost makes the fox hunt easier because the points stick out in your brain more.
Yeah.
We're like, there's the bar. Oh, there's this, there's that. It's like when it comes up in the fox hunt clues, because everything's so notable.
Feels more intuitive.
Yeah. Versus like,
that just means you're paying attention more as well when you're going through it on, when we do our ball hunt in the first playthrough and such. Yeah, you're really soaking it in because I have noticed I don't think the difficulty of the fox hunts are any different. I just think we're noticing landmarks better than.
Which I guess is credit to you too, because it's so visually appealing on that side.
I was about to throw it over to the design team where I just like, hey, all those silhouettes and points of interest are really sticking out like you want them to.
No, it's great stuff. And Don, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with you. Jokes aside, when we were on the Forgotten Fairyland course, there was one hole in there that is so easy to mess up your game on. It's the one where you go up the hill and then like you hook back down.
Oh my god, yeah, into the back of the well.
I think we were playing with David.
Yeah.
Yep. Jack and Jill went up the hill, so it's definitely that one. We were playing with David and Sarah, and they told us that your original design for that was even more intense.
Yeah, I'm of all the art directors, I'm the one that doesn't design the holes. I tend to lean more heavily toward the holes supporting the story than necessarily them supporting good gameplay. And so many times I'll design something or draw something up like maybe it could be like this, and then I'm taken aside and told no, that would actually make people miserable if they were to do that. But Lucas, Henning, and Laura now are the whole designers, and so blame them.
That was a very expert way of going, not me.
I'm not the guy.
Yeah, I heard the original sketch was just like even up more.
Although we've joked that Henning's not real.
Yeah, we hear Henning every interview, and I've never seen the guy. So to me, he's a myth. He's like a mascot inside the studio. You know, that's funny.
He's cursed a lot. I know. So
that's awesome.
I love Henning.
So talking on the design process, do you want to take us a little bit through like the whole pipeline of, from sketch to, I guess, in our hands?
Yeah, I'll lead it up to tech art, and then I'll hand it over. So we have 3 times a year on a good year we do design retreats, which is Lucas, Henning, and Laura and I get together. Lately, it's been at my studio in Oregon, which has been great because then I don't have to go anywhere. They just come to me, or we do an Airbnb someplace, and then we try to come up with 5 or 7 of the future courses and get far enough into it that we know we have a foundation. Like we know this is the theme we're going to do, and we have a kind of an idea, and that we all agree upon. And that is all done in Gravity Sketch. So whether we're in the room together or we're separated by several states, we jump into this virtual space and we start to make the messiest future course that we can. And what's really interesting is that you'll be off in the corner, working on a cluster of trees while someone else is building something else, and they'll say, hey, turn around and look at this. I'm working over here. And amazingly, like in an hour and a half, we have the foundation of a course that we're willing to go, that's working or that's not working. After that week, it sort of sets the next 4 or 5 months ahead for let's start firming these things up. So whether it's Henning, Laura, or I will start taking that rough scribble and start creating basically placeholders for everything. So placeholders for the holes, placeholders for the environment, and start building initial assets that will populate. Like this is the intent, this is where they'll be, this is where the holes are located, this is the walkabout path. And then it gets handed off from us to the art team. And the art team is the folks responsible for translating our scribbles into the finished product. And we'll have everything from just the props that cover up all the surfaces to what we're now starting to call hero props. Those a couple of things that are really focal points, whether they're a structure or they're an object. And we'll take it to the point where it's kind of like designing a Broadway set, but never lighting it, So all the things are in the right place. Everything's feeling right scale-wise and starting to feel good color-wise. And then it gets handed to the tech art team, and that's, handed over to Nate.
So the tech art team, our tech art team specifically, outside of what I do, focuses on a lot of it's kind of like a wide range, like I alluded to earlier. It's a lot of optimization. So they get, that file, and we start to kind of talk about it, break it down, look at limiting factors, where we can start cutting back and or even adding things at times. It's not just a completely subtractive procedure, but that's also when audio and lighting and of course animation start to look at it too. And we start to discuss kind of like, okay, we have a design doc, we have an intent doc. This is what, the idea is. Where can we save? Where can we save? Where can we, pare back? What are realistic limitations for like the awesome ideas that we get a lot of times, but sometimes might be a little too lofty. So we start to prioritize, like kind of like a triage list of like, these are things we have to do. These are things we can do. These are things we would like to do. And from there, it kind of sits in tech art for a good bit of the process. During that time, we try to wrap up animation and lighting. Audio and optimization tend to go a little longer because sometimes things in the course are a little bit more fluid. Sometimes things have to change that maybe we didn't account for. But after us, it goes to the tech team. That's all of our like engineers and the guys and gals that actually make it run. Like it's great to have all these artistic ideas, but like they're really doing a lot of heavy lifting to make sure that like what is presented to you is like what is expected and operating efficiently. And then of course we can't forget the QA team, who does just the most to make sure that any bugs that we get from like our beta team, any bugs that they find are cataloged and brought to the correct attention to everybody on the team, and from there delivered.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that the art in the tech art name has a capital A, because a lot of art decisions are made in the tech phase. And also I've noticed that the art team, the design team and the art team, we're siloed and we kind of focus in on the thing we have to deliver, but we work through Slack. And so you can kind of see up in the margins when people are huddled together, and it's the tech art team that always has a band of people who are having a conversation. And I think in traditional gaming, at least other companies I've worked for, there's a real separation between the art group and the technical group philosophically. And I think that we've discovered that that's wrong, that actually so much of the stuff that you guys notice happened in the tech art team, and it's having art as the title allows the tech art team to make design decisions. Now, granted, it's under the banner of we have to optimize and we have to make sure this runs on all the headsets, but also, yes, we may have to cut this, but in cutting that, maybe we need to do, what if we did this other thing to support the story? And my favorite example is we were in the handoff phase for Ice Lair, and at one point someone said, "Why are all these puffins around? Do we really need them?" And then I said, "I will die on this on this hill. we have to have the puffins." And there was a pause, because that meant a whole lot of tech work to make them work. But then they went, "Oh, if that's the case, then what if they follow you?" That was never part of the original design. I think part of the magic of that is the fact that as you move through the course, they start to mysteriously, sinisterly sort of cluster behind you. And that was a complete tech art lift. That it took something that we already knew was going to be hard, made it way harder. But that choice was so supporting the story we were trying to tell, that I think a huge amount of the magic that is visible in our products. Absolutely, the coconut sort of example with our, they'll just have an idle animation to what Nate was able to deliver. We owe a tremendous amount to the last, half of the production process, because a lot of that magic happens during that phase.
Well, it seems like all the departments are working in harmony together, which might not be the norm in all. I've never seen it in any company I've worked for where every department's working with the same. No,
Well,
no.
And listen to the praise everyone gives each other. It's
Every time we talk to a coconut,
it's like, no, it's actually this
it's
person.
Never self. Yeah.
It's not me. It's that person.
Yep.
It's that department. Oh, it's that department who's not here, so they can't
It's the
advocate for
consumers.
themselves.
Yeah.
So it's very humble, all of you. You can tell how much you love the company you work for and what you do. And the reality is that you wouldn't have the end products that's there if there wasn't that type of,
They've got quite the following, dude.
Yeah.
A very big following. I'm curious about the lore of the courses. So like the course comes out as the consumer, you can kind of create your own.
And with the Fox Hunt too, it gives you some more there.
Yeah, if you take it that, let's just play it on like you don't do 5. Let's just look at the course. It's like you will create your own story of like what's happening. Through this process, are you all each pretty much coming up with your own part of the lore per se, or is it really like this is what it is in our heads, how the consumers see it, maybe not?
No,
but who's deciding that overall?
It's a free for all. For all of us, I think we've done so many of them. There's a couple of things that are happening. One is over the years, we've got this expanding library of assets. And so there's all these opportunities to bring bring a favorite asset from some other course as a big wink and a nudge to a past thing. But also we're working on 2027 right now. So we'll foreshadow in a course that it'll be 9 months. You'll go, wait a minute, I saw that back, and we're doing a lot of that. And then we've also got the skeletons and the bananas and all that kind of stuff that it isn't been designed in, but at some point during the course of the production process, bananas show up someplace.
So it's never at the same time either. Every now and then I'll be like almost done with my portion, and then all of a sudden I'll like just be cruising through the course. I'm like, that's a whole pile of bananas now. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a real proponent to the storytelling vignette. Can we design something into the course that helps the player make their own story about it? And one of my favorite contributors is Emma Mercado. She comes in and does what we call the set deck pass. And especially on Tiki, there's behind the bar, there's that second bar, and there's a little swing, and the swing has broken, and there's an intoxicated coconut with a bucket on his head that's just laying there, and there's absolutely no like large story reason for that to be that way, but that's like catnip for me. That adds depth to the experience. And none of that was in the first half of our design process. That magic is sprinkled in during the process of production.
I love it. I love that the freedom's there for some interpretation on your end. And then again, as the consumer, I know exactly what even like we mentioned with the tattoos, having somebody, not one, but two sets of, it's like some things don't have to be, but they're there and we enjoy it.
And you start to kind of design the story in your own head, which is what you're alluding to. You see the chieftain in his chair. You're like, oh my goodness.
I see the happy faces, which is the first thing that made me pleased, because the reality is, let's be honest, you didn't, I don't think you paid to be there.
No, judging by the crashed plane, I'm going to guess it was accidental.
So it's 50-50 on what kind of people you're going to run into. It seems like possibly a happy bunch of coconuts.
They got the tiki bar.
But I don't trust the dark humor that I know exists within the company. So even though my brain might say I'm at peace, there's the possibility that, maybe I'm going to be turned into soup. That could be a real thing.
Well, I love that. I love that friction that, like, these guys are way too happy. There's got to be some other hidden motive. And there isn't.
Oh no,
there isn't. It's just, they're just. What do they make? What are those big pots for?
Yeah,
they're stirring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a hot tub. Yep. That's 100. I've seen enough cartoons to know what happens. It's like they're happy not because I'm there. They're happy because they're going to eat good for a good year. I'm pretty big. They're coconut. But we don't. It doesn't have to be that.
No, it's just your ball. You just sacrifice your ball.
Yeah. That's all it is. But there's definitely, I got in right around the time where it was like, this is going to be a dark course. And I was like, ooh, ooh, we're going there. Okay, let's go. And then the first couple of things I did, they were like too dark. And I was like, we're pulling it back. All right, bringing it back. Like, I think there's I think it's hole 16 when you're on the walk up. Originally, I had them like sharpening their forks and knives, and,
making it obvious.
Yeah, they were just kind of like, what if we made them just excited about food and not menacing? Because I had like pulled their mouths up a little higher, lowered their brows a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, that's a little too on the nose."
Yeah.
I was like, "That's fair. I can run it back."
We really saw the dark with the frozen puffins.
Mm-hmm.
We felt terrible for them.
Yeah.
Gave me the feels. I was like, oh, the poor little guy.
He's dead.
He's dead. Like, not even hiding it. You're like, maybe he's just frozen. He's napping. I'm like, no, he ain't napping.
If I'm not mistaken, there's even one on this course where it looks like one of the coconuts might have fallen out of a tree or something. He was kind of bandaged up.
Oh,
There's a couple of them. Yeah.
So the genesis of the course was we knew that on our list we wanted to do a tiki something, but tiki as in tongue-in-cheek sort of tiki bar version of tiki, as opposed to necessarily recreating Polynesia and its culture. And but we really, really needed something to push it even further towards that tongue-in-cheek, and also. Many of our courses are unpopulated. Tokyo's one of them. It has to live on its own, just being a cool place you want to go to with your friends and experience. But this place needed a reason for being. And so the moment we thought of what if it's populated by anthropomorphic coconuts, and then we said, well, why are you there? And I don't know which one of us came up with it, but I said, what if there was a coconut that fell out of a tree and into a hole, and in doing so created golf? And so, and I said, well, who is that guy? And I think it was Lucas said, it's Jerry. And we went, okay, it's Jerry. So Jerry, after the chieftain, there's a hut that shows the story of Jerry, where he's actually depicted falling from the tree and falling into a hole and creating golf. And then later on, it's a reenactment. So that's a reenactment of Jerry's fall, and so that's why on the up in the tree there's a very the only sad looking coconut who's about to jump into the hole, and there's all the other happy previous Jerrys that are all sitting around bandaged up from having reenacted this apocryphal fall from a tree.
Too freaking funny. I even like one of the lines, I think in the Fox Hunt, they were making reference to like having to use some weird bent wire stick or something to like, so you're seeing the evolution of the whole thing coming together.
There are so many small details on the course these days.
Nobody's found all the Easter eggs and all these courses. Sure. There's no freaking way. There's way too much going on. Mm-hmm. And then I see there's islands in the distance that, remember I said, I'm like, I'm going to fly there for no reason. I don't know what's there. There might be something there, but anytime I see something, I don't know what you all are thinking, so I have to go and look. Sometimes there might be something there. Sometimes there might not, but
it's always worth the flight.
Mm-hmm.
You all crush it. And like I've talked about this before, our typical play style in this, a new course drops. First things first, we're getting the 18 balls.
We're rabid, dude.
That's it. We're going around. It's, we'll look at all the small details after. First is get all the balls.
Yeah.
Then we get the fox hunt. And then from there, we play it, the next week or two, really looking at all of the little details.
Yeah.
Starting to build some lore in our head. These days, looking at the characters for a couple of minutes each, really,
there's a lot
really taking it all in. For $4, there's so much depth in each course. And you can feel the labor of love that goes into it from the whole team. And it really does sound like a well-oiled machine these days. I mean, it sounds like it's always been. I don't mean by these days like it's something
it's
new.
A studio made up of like rock stars in an industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hand selected and picked as far as I'm concerned, because everyone always, dude, I've never met an upset coconut or just like, and I'm sure you have down days, but the projection's not there, from Discord to the community events to like every single day there's challenges posted every day, never a break. It's like new courses coming out almost like on a monthly pattern. You're here in 2027 as a consumer. This is all just like, You know,
Yeah, you know
this
it's
is
not
gold.
stopping anytime soon.
No.
And you referenced an all-star cast. Do you two want to talk a little bit about your background before you got started at Mighty Coconut? Don, I know we teased it at the start, and you've been on before, but I'd be hard pressed not bring it up. You know, former Disney Imagineer, and you know, I don't want to spoil it all, but do you want to talk a little bit about your background? And same to you, Nate. It sounds like you've been at the company for quite a bit now, referencing some of the past courses that you've worked on. So yeah, do you want to give us a little overview of your journey
You bet.
into Walkabout Mini Golf?
Nate, you first.
Okay. Actually, I went to school specifically for like game art and development. I went to a university called Full Sail in Florida. After I got out, I had focused a bit on animation, and I just wasn't finding anything. So I wound up actually taking a QA job at it was a studio called Junction Point Studio. They worked on Epic Mickey 1 and 2. And I got to do a little bit of animation there for some like pitch docs type stuff for like potential new courses, which was my first experience at doing like animation on even any sort of professional level. From there, worked at Edge Reality, I worked at a fitness app and development studio, all in QA and just taking little animation hits here and there where I could get them. And then eventually I worked at a studio here in town called Rooster Teeth, and I worked on season 1 of Ruby as an animator. And from there, I came back for seasons 3 through 9. I worked in the layout department, which was it's laying out the scenes, obviously, but also camera. So I did a lot of like camera animation, a lot of like basic character animation for like shot framing to pass to the animation team. From there, I worked in previs at that studio, and then through one of my bosses who had left the studio and come to Mighty Coconut, he said, "Dude, I think you'd be a good fit here. Just come take the meeting, talk to Lucas. If it's good, it's good." And I did, and that was about almost 4 years ago now. Like I think I'm coming up on 4 years.
Wow.
So you said Epic Mickey?
Yep.
Yeah, I worked on it for a very brief time and did some early concepts, and then they decided I was not a good fit. So
Look, all I'm going to say is you're still here and the studio is not to spill
so my background was I was a kid that drew all the time, wanted to see if I could make a career drawing for a living, and was an illustration major in San Francisco, Academy of Art College. And then as soon as I graduated, realized I really dislike doing commercial illustration. But I really liked Disneyland. And I found out about that same time that was a job you could have. So that became, during the 80s, my focus was to get a job working there. And so from 89 to the mid 90s, I worked at Disney. And then our son was born, and we decided we wanted to leave LA, which meant leaving the theme park business. And so I started this sort of freelance hybrid career where I worked at, did theme park stuff, which I still do today, but also video game work. And in the mid 90s is when games like Myst and Doom and games like that were starting to get into 3D stuff. And to me, it seemed really obvious that the video game world was becoming very similar to the theme park world, that both of them were telling stories through the creation of environments. And I spent the next 30 years evangelizing and hard selling this idea that, hey, we could take the principles of theme park design and add them to games, to two industries that were utterly uninterested in that conversation. And so I've hopped around doing both, never feeling like my job was any different, no matter what project I was working on. All the projects were designing places. And when COVID happened, friends and I, just to stay together, to socialize, found this mini golf game, and we would play it. And a couple of DLCs into it, we were like, "This is what we do at Disney. This is theme park design." So I wrote Lucas a fan letter and got hired, amazingly. And I have been making I've been stealthily making theme park rides that happen to have mini golf in them for the last 4+ years. And like I said, it's probably my favorite job for that reason. The fact that on a theme park, you might have a 5-year life cycle for one ride. We produce 7 every year. And there's no getting bored with the theme because you're simultaneously working on 4 things, and also handing it off to other incredibly capable people who are going to create a finished product that when we release it. For me, a lot of times I'm just as surprised as the players as to just the amount of attention to detail and polish that's gone into it. And sometimes that polish happens the last week. That's, we try to get the thing sealed up, but there's so much sort of fine tuning that's happening to make it optimized, but also glorious. And so I don't miss the 5-year life cycle for creating an IP only driven ride when I can work on things that have potentially sinister but very friendly coconuts in it.
Again, I'll say it's that harmonic balance from every single person that works there, from Lucas to, whomever walks through that door. It's like, it's the one of the most talented studios that I believe is, but to look at a mini golf game and go, and this proves the eyes of the artist versus like me, right? I look at mini golf, I can enjoy it for all the aspects I see. I would have never looked at a game of mini golf and been like, this is no different than building an amusement park ride. It's the same shit. We could do this.
So how was working on Forgotten Fairyland's design for you? Was it like full circle, basically?
Yeah. This last year has been sort of bucket worthy checking off. Just like we got to do a Manor amusement park. We have to do Alice in Wonderland. We have to do, So yeah, it was great, and it's a lot of sort of inside theme park jokes in there, and also they've added to take a sledgehammer to it. It's not only because everything we're designing normally is pristine and safe. And so someplace that you need a tetanus shot just to walk through the gate is enjoyable.
Well, and I would have emotional attachment to if I did a full scale Disney ride or something. And then knowing that, like you said, there's a life cycle and that clock starts the minute they cut the ribbon on launch day. I would feel a certain something of watching my work just be torn down, and
these courses are forever.
Well, I was my first job at Disney was I was the lead designer on Splash Mountain for Walt Disney World, so I've witnessed something being torn down that you worked on. But luckily, it had 30 good years of happy people going through it before they tore it to pieces.
No, I get it. 30 years is pretty damn good, though.
Yeah, but wow, what a team over there.
It's no joke.
This next question, it's a tough one to ask, even on my end, because I don't think I could answer it, and I'm not even the one making it or anything like that. I already know what you're going to ask without asking. Do you two have favorite course of the whole bunch? I mean, I can't imagine picking one because it just as a consumer there's different things I like in each one, and I imagine they're all your babies in the end. But I have to ask: is there one course for each of you that sticks out above the rest?
I think I have mine. If you want me to go, to give you some time.
And if you don't have one, you don't need to pick one just for the sake of it.
I think from a production standpoint, I liked Wallace and Gromit. I think that was just like a really fun kind of course to work on. It was kind of, I didn't realize how excited I was going to be to work with Aardman in an animation capacity. So that kind of checked a lot of boxes for me. I think from a vibe space though, and a wow factor, a course that I can just sit in, I think it's Tokyo. Mm-hmm. Tokyo hard with the water coming, the rain coming down, or post rain rather, it's all lit up and all the colors and everything. The Neko Atsumi cats are everywhere. I don't know. There's something about easy and hard both feels so good to me just as a consumer.
Yeah. Tokyo left you speechless first time you went in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, it's much more about the process making it is my it's less about the finished product and much more about the enjoyment we had making it. I'd say probably the hardest thing I've worked on and also the most rewarding was Meow Wolf, just because of that collaboration with Katie Kennedy. I love that. I look fondly on that. I love Venice because my wife and I, whenever we travel to Europe, always end up in Venice or end up in Italy. We love that place. And there was a tremendous worry that we were going to not be able to nail it. For people who've been there or people who live there, we didn't want to do our Epcot version of it. We didn't want to do a theme parky version of it. We wanted to do a love letter to that place. Same with Tokyo, and same with the other passport things we're developing now. They're very different than other courses. So I'm really gratified that, like, we got notes from Italians that said, I don't know how you did it. How did you capture in your low poly miniature golf world the essence of what it is to visit Venice? And I think often it's I learned a lesson in Alice because I was the one that was really, really pushing for us to do it because I had some thoughts. And so I sat on that, every detail on it. I made sure it was a certain way. But when you demand sort of that much control over something, you lose perspective on it. You don't get to step back. And so it's the one course that I don't know if it's any good because I've just spent too much time trying to make it good. But then something like Tiki, which I just participated in aspects of it, often just in the front end, to see the finished product and not have not demanded authorship of decisions that were made makes me love it more. We think we want control over something, but really what is the most rewarding is when you're a sort of a jazz ensemble and everybody relishes everybody's solo and gets to sit back and kind of smile at them really showing off their talent. And I think we've hit that sweet spot at Mighty Coconut where we can hand something over to someone with complete confidence that they're going to come back and surprise us with the choices that they make. So that my job as someone who comes in later on and to see whether or not we're sticking to the story we intended at the beginning is just to praise everybody. There's nothing bad to say. It's like, wow, I love this thing you did here. And that's gratifying and rare. Like you said, it's rare to be in a group that you can so tangibly feel the love that went into the choices that were made. And especially as we're sort of being bombarded with AI stuff, I think it's nice to be able to disappear and go into a place that's utterly crafted by human hands.
100. I'd love to go to a Walkabout company meeting and it would just be everyone getting together and just being like, oh, you did great. You did great. Oh, you did, dude, you did so good on that. No, you did really good on that.
Couldn't have done it without you,
No, but that's what you could be so lucky to be part of that. That's why nobody leaves. I've never heard of anyone actually leaving. I've heard people joining, but I never heard of anyone being like, yeah, it wasn't for me.
But I love, not only the individual courses, I love the series. Like, you mentioned Venice, the Passport series is great. Seeing the different real life locations. My favorite, I don't think I'm picking an individual favorite course, but I love the Evil Lairs series.
Oh, the series.
That one sticks out to me as so good. I still love the idea of like a Passport Boston, and when you get par, instead of saying par, it says PAH, pa. Yeah, pa, that course, but there's so much potential. I think I could sit here for days just brainstorming wish lists of courses and stuff.
We've spent a lot of Walkabout money without them knowing.
Things, yeah.
We've even said it like, time to spend some Walkabout money.
Yeah. Imagine a pirate ship course.
What I love though is the curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
We get teasers sometimes from their social media and the speculation.
When there's a teaser, I can't even guess it right.
No, I don't think I've ever guessed it right. I have ideas and thoughts, but not the correct answer. Like and then different game functions that they bring into like
chess
almost every. Yeah, dude, don't even give me stuff.
The sock puppet.
Yeah.
So much, it never ends. I never would have guessed chess, and who knows what the rabbit hole that opens up is. So Again, you can see the reason the courses are what they are when you talk to great and passionate people like you two. Before we let them go, because, as our listeners know, we do steal people on Sundays, the most brutal day to take somebody out from their free time to chit chat for an hour. Before we let Don and Nate go, do you have any other questions you wanna ask them?
Well, yeah, I could spend another hour easily talking. No, I again, there's no surprises to me that the energy was what it is coming from both of these gentlemen, and the process was kind of what I hope to get more into, which we did. Which I'm not gonna lie, I do see Don's sketches when he posts them, and I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be a thick book offered someday of just all these.
And as a fan of these animations, it's great to hear from Nate on this process too.
Because that to me this is changing what I'm accustomed to mini golf, to bringing in personality now and feeling
life.
That, well, yeah, because you can dictate emotion based on these, just like the sound is dictating my feelings. Now we're adding other things that are going to create to this. So I think that's a huge, huge addition to keep doing and crushing it. You crushed it with the coconuts, dude.
And Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Absolutely.
There's so many coconuts.
What a great 1-2 back.
There are so many coconuts.
There are so many coconuts. Dude, I'm telling you, forever that should haunt you. When you say I can't. You're like, dude.
What about those coconuts?
120 coconuts are winking at me. Smiling.
Honestly, it is close to that number.
I'm going to need to go in tonight and count them now,
I don't think you could.
And they're all doing their own unique thing. I really think people are going to be blown away with this when they get their paws on it. Before we let you two go, is there anything you want to say to the listeners before we wrap this baby up?
Well, you did bring up audio. That's one of the other aspects I think is unsung hero is Jeff Bulls and the choices he makes for the audios. In fact, I'll even Alice, go through Alice with the music off and just see the choices that were made. The sound of the told you would, sort of grundling, sort of groaning and animal sounds. And I think that's a marvelous, magical part of it too, that there are so many people who aren't on this call who bring layers of complexity to the overall experience, that their work is felt sometimes, if not acknowledged.
Oh, a million percent. You take any one of these layers off of these courses, and their courses aren't, and this is not taking away from the product, but they will not be as good as they could have been.
Yep.
And sound is, and we've talked about it in length, that walkabout sound, it's not too good and it's not going to be terrible. It is going to be balanced to kind of bring you in the feel. The holiday one really, really stood out in my head when that was like, damn, that vibe is 100%.
Even in this course, you better believe I was hitting that drum for way too long with my putter. Yeah. I love those little things. I think the Elvis course had the guitar as well that you could strum. It's
the microphone.
Oh my goodness, the microphone.
What's crazy is I go do so much dumb shit in these courses just trying to see if I can interact with it. Because I don't trust anything not to possibly do something.
If I thought of it, I know you all did in designing the course.
Now there's animations being pumped in more. So at what point are animations going to be dictated by stuff? Like you're going to do something and there's going to be an animated response to it. I don't trust them. in the best of ways. In the bestest of ways.
Too funny.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing I have to say is, like, honestly, this is probably one of the most harmonious studio I've ever worked at. Like, they really practice what they preach. Like, everybody tends to get a say, from from art to tech to from HR to QA. Like, everybody is free to speak up and kind of, offer up ideas or, even solutions to things. So, really, what you've been picking up on and feeling in these courses and how they're made from passion and love, it truly is the best way to say it is the most harmonious studio that I've ever worked at.
It's role model. Mm-hmm. It should be, and it probably can't be duplicated because it does take special minds to make that happen, and being selective with who you bring on board. But the results speak for themselves. Weathered a lot of storms, right? have had a fan base that doesn't stop.
It's a testament to Lucas Martel's, because I mean, we've all been handpicked by him. And he's sort of a Renaissance man when it comes to his ability to make the art and make the technical decisions and to make the music. And I mean, he really, he built the first courses single-handedly. And we're just going with his lead.
This type of stuff always starts from the top down, and you can see it. Unless you all are the best liars ever. In every interview.
We've met so many in person too, and it's like you think the energy is good over a video. It's like meet some coconuts in person. It's even more.
No, huge fans of what you all do. I cannot wait for what you all have in store the next year. It feels like it only gets better and better. And just I say it all the time, it's the best $4 you ever spend. It's cheaper than a latte in most cities and towns and stuff.
I pay $5.40 for a cup.
We can't wait either. We're excited about what's coming this year.
Yeah, huge props to you all for staying tight-lipped. I'm sure if it must eat at you, be like, I cannot wait until what people get to feel or what they get to play. So thank you both for joining us today. Like you said, could easily do another hour. This has been a huge blast. Definitely want to have you two back on again, especially when some of the future courses come out. And to the listeners, go check out Tiki A Coco if you haven't yet. So vibrant, so beautiful. The animations are amazing and always feels like you all only get better and better. So to the listeners, check it out. Subscribe, rate us 5 stars. Keep playing one of the best VR games that you'll probably ever play. And enjoy the rest of your week. Awesome. Ciao, ciao.